Hello, friends. I am so excited to welcome you to Eat Art Space, the pop-up dining room gallery from a home in Appalachia. And I am about to go live with artist Elena Corradino, who works in resin, acrylics, alcohol ink, and a wide variety of other things. And she is here. I'm going to wave at her, and hopefully we'll get everything started. But if you have any questions for Elena and you want to find out more about her work, you can visit our website, which is eSpace. And you can also drop your questions in the comments. And that way we can get started. Hello, it's so good to see you this evening.
Hi.
Now, are you in your studio right now?
Yes.
You mentioned that you were working on stuff up until the artist talk, and so it might actually be really cool if you could flip things around at some point and show us what you're working on in the middle of the talk at some point, if you're okay with that. So,
yeah. I mean, I'm kind of always working on tons of stuff in here, so, but, well, hang on one second. Let's see.
Oh my goodness.
Some stuff I'm drawing on right now. I just put together these moon phases.
Oh my goodness.
Working on a birth chart.
Yeah.
I've got these pieces going on. Some of these kinds of pieces going on. Some of this stuff. So, bunch of different stuff.
Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. I love studio tours. I'm going to give a tour of the gallery too, but first I want you to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about like how you came to resin art, your background, any training you have, or mentors or people who taught you, or just your whole story. So,
okay, well, I'm pretty much self-taught. I mean, I've kind of just always been an artist. I've been working with resin for about 4.5, 5 years now. But it was a long time coming. It was something that I always kind of wanted to work with. And then, about 4 or 5 years ago, I was finally sort of presented with the opportunity to try it. And I've been using it ever since. As far as inspiration or people that I've worked with, really, it's just always kind of been about my own desire to continuously explore my creativity. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's pretty much my story.
What mediums did you work in prior to resin? You mentioned that like it was a long time coming. What did your work look like before this?
Well, so I actually have something I can show you.
Oh, cool. How fun.
This is one of my old pieces. It's an old style piece, so it's actually just acrylic, and then here's another one. I'm going to take this over here and show you. This is another one of my old style pieces.
I definitely see elements of that work in the work that you're producing now.
Right.
I'm going to flip things around for the audience so that they can get like a real parallel here. So this is, here are the faces in Elena's work currently, and those like drippy acrylic sections they take shape inside these little more formal geometric shapes.
Right.
It's really quite striking. So, I mean, that's not something that, I don't know if your earlier work has that element in it.
You mean like the more like sharp
edges, yeah.
Right. No, not really. I think it's maybe been about cleaning that up for the last like 3 or 4 years.
Oh.
So I feel like I've always kind of like done the same things. Like I started doing a lot of this resin stuff, and I'm like, oh, this is a whole new kind of idea for me, but not really. I mean, I've kind of always done faces. I've always sort of done kind of pieces that make you think, stuff with moons. I've always really kind of liked those subjects, and I think it's probably been in the last couple of years that I've been working with resin that I've started sort of honing in those ideas and kind of sharpening them and trying to bring them together a little bit more. into something more cohesive.
Okay, so that brings me to the title of your show, which is Energy Cycles in Living Things.
Hmm.
And so you're bringing these ideas into this medium. Do you feel like these ideas are they new to you? Are they stuff that you have explored in prior iterations? I'm just gonna like list a whole bunch of stuff, but you can choose like what you want to pick and run with. I'm especially interested in the titles of your pieces because they refer to a lot of scientific knowledge, and so in your creative process, what role do these titles play in all of that research and all of like all of those idea nuggets that are floating around in there? Like, where do they come from, and where do those interests come into play here?
So the idea of energy cycles, it really started with something last year, but I feel like I've always been like thinking about energy, just like energy cycles in general. And last year when I became enamored with doing pieces with moon phases on them, I started thinking about cycles, and I actually like was trying to think about a way to word this. So I went to Google and I typed energy cycles in living things because I wanted to like think about what energy cycle, and I was like, "Ooh, I really like that." And so that's kind of the whole like beginning of that idea. But like I said, I feel like I've always, maybe not like in a known place, like maybe in my subconscious, these were ideas that I sort of explored in the past. But kind of this last collection and then this collection, it really sort of brought everything together. So basically, from me deciding the title of it, I kind of already knew what colors I wanted to do, and I wanted to do something very like contrast, striking, visually striking, something bright. And
Well, then
so,
let's talk about the piece that is the brightest by far. And I have to confess, it is my favorite, which
yeah, it's nice.
is I'm glad we share favorites. That's really reassuring. This is called Reverse Brayton Cycle.
Yes.
So, was this like the Google rabbit hole where you were like,
Well,
hey,
kind of, sort of. So it's more like the last time that I did this, I sort of explored a few different, like I explored like wind energy and like nuclear energy. This time, after I did the pieces, they all felt very, because I make the title of the whole collection first, then I do all the pieces, then I go back and do titles for each piece. So
so
I
you
just kind
work
of
with
let
a
my mind,
broad concept
yes,
and then express
exactly.
within it and then name them. So did this one, as you were making it, you didn't have the title in mind? You'd made it and then gave it the name?
Yeah, and so the reverse Brayton cycle is like a fridge. So basically it like removes heat and like makes things cold. And to me, this piece, like looking at it, you're like, oh, orange, heat. But to me, it looks like it's like absorbing in a way and like
Mm.
transmitting. And then with the moons and like the way that the face is, to me, it feels very cold. And that's why I felt like that title fit. I wanted to do some sort of energy that was like changing into something else for this piece for some reason. That's just how it felt to me. Um, so that's what I ended up going with. And yeah, it is kind of like a Google rabbit hole, but like I laid all the pieces out and I was like, okay, I feel like a lot of these have to do with light energy. And so I kind of went through and I was like, all
So
right, here's some
let's
names that I'm gravitating
let's turn
towards
to
with
this
light
one,
energy.
which these are super reflective pieces. So I'm sorry if my reflections in the in the
Yes,
camera
they are.
can't kind of help it. But this one is called photovoltaic installation. And
Hmm.
so talk about what you're thinking about or what that title means from a scientific standpoint and some of the thinking there.
So, okay, so what that means, photovoltaic installation generates electricity from sunlight using a semiconductor that produces an electrical charge. So the way that the lines are, that like bright orange on top of that green, it felt very like electric to me.
Mm.
It just felt like it was charged up. and then with everything radiating from that, center sun, um, that to me just felt very electric. So that's what made me gravitate towards that name.
I'm just realizing that I can like see the reflection of the reverse Brayton cycle inside the
Yeah,
it is really cool how they kind of do that, although hard to photograph. Um,
yeah.
so let's flip around then. Is there another cycle or something that you read about scientifically that you feel like especially captivated by, like a piece that's named after something that is just like blows your mind?
Um, I actually really like, I don't think that this was something we talked about earlier, but I actually really like thermonuclear fusion,
Oh, okay.
which
That's
is
the one
that
that's up in
other
here.
blue piece with the face in it.
There we
Yeah.
are.
So, and that one is how the sun produces energy. And I really like the way that that's named. I feel like it perfectly encapsulates, like, it's like the face is a sun, like, producing energy and like spreading it out through like sun rays. That's what went through my mind with this piece.
I
And
keep wanting to dig into these little bits here because what's so hard to see is that these are all of these lines are on different layers of resin. So it's,
yep.
you know, the way that you work, Elena, feels so much more like a printmaker than
Interesting. Okay.
other formats because you're establishing a layer and then you're building up, but you obviously have a composition already in mind. What is your
No,
process? No, you don't. You like this is all, it just emerges all
it
intuitively
all,
in the element.
yeah, it's like, usually I don't even have a name for the entire collection chosen yet, but this time I happen to. But usually it starts with just colors, so I'll become obsessed with certain colors, and then I'm like, well, what am I thinking about? Like, what is this trying to say to me? What do these colors mean? What am I trying to convey? Then I
So
just
it's
kind
like
of
the
start
colors
putting,
come first and then they sort of
yeah,
point you to the idea.
yeah, basically, yeah. And then like once I start getting everything together, like I'll be like, okay, what am I going to do with my backgrounds? Like for this collection, I was like, all right, I'll go through and paint all my, backgrounds, make sure all the colors are balanced in the backgrounds. And then I went through and laid down all the triangles. And then while I was laying down the triangles, I kind of mentally was like, okay, this is going to be a face or this is going to be a landscape. And
Mm.
then I went through and did the resin, and then like the resin just goes over that first layer of triangles. So for the faces, that's the fun part because then I just kind of like build the face from nothing basically, but the triangles. And then I just keep going from there. I sort of feel it out the whole way that I'm like working.
I love hearing you describe the way that you work. It's very everybody's brain works so differently. Now, I
Mhm.
just want to
Yeah.
take a pause to reset things a little bit and just welcome everybody who's watching. This is Eat Art Space, which is a little pop-up dining room gallery from a home in Appalachia. We are an alternative art space, and we're speaking with Elena Corradino, who is the artist featured for this week. And if you want to snag some of her pieces, link in bio. So let's see. Somebody's asking a question. I missed the earlier part, so you may have already answered, but are you self-taught?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I took art classes in school, throughout up through high school. But so I guess I'm classically trained in drawing, but as far as like painting and stuff goes, and inks and all that, and resin, that's all. I'm all self-taught there.
Yeah, and you've
So
been full-time at this for well, you've been working at it for several years now, but full-time for
for four
oh,
years.
for 4 years. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was trying to remember your bio.
yeah, 4 years. Yeah, I know it's crazy to me still that it's been 4 years, but yes, 4 years ago
Yeah,
I
very
quit my
exciting.
job.
Please continue to drop any other questions that you have specifically about the pieces. I'll take a little tour around and just like give people an idea of what pieces are here in the gallery. Behind me are a couple things, but it'll be easier if I can flip this. So here we go. So here we have the rise and fall of the ocean level.
Mm-hmm.
and the only common cycle of all living things.
I actually really like the names of both of those pieces.
Yeah, they feel very poetic to me as well. And this is and you can correct me if I get any of these wrong. Escape velocity and everything is held here by gravity, which
Oh
that
yeah.
yeah, that one to me like I just like that idea. This is
Yeah.
chlorophyll with
Which
my
that one, I mean, I feel like that one's self-explanatory. It's like
yeah.
chlorophyll, we know why this is named chlorophyll.
Yes, we do. We do. Now, okay, we'll pause at this one because I intentionally did not look up what the title of this one was so that you could enlighten me live. What is heterotroph?
So basically, heterotroph means that it's an organism that derives its nutritional requirements from complex organic substances. So to me, it looked like this person was absorbing something through their mouth, like they were eating something, and then there were all these lines coming out. And so I was like, okay, I feel like this just goes perfectly, like this way of absorbing energy just goes perfectly with what this person is doing. I mean, you could look at
Mm.
it the other way and say that they're expelling energy, but to me, I feel like they're absorbing from like multiple locations.
Hmm. Very. I feel like that's a term that I should have known from science class, but you forget stuff. It's been a
Yeah,
while.
it's been a while.
You're like Lisa. Okay,
Yeah.
what inspires you to choose the color combinations? Is a question that we have from the audience.
Um, so this color combination is actually weirdly inspired by mold.
Oh,
That's
that
that's
is
what sparked it
interesting.
all last year. I don't Last year for some reason I became obsessed with mold as a color scheme. And then and then I just was like, okay, how can I brighten this up? Like what can I add to make this really bright and contrasty and sort of like punchy like in your face? And so I decided to add the orange and the bright orange and the purple. But yeah, my inspiration for color schemes is always really strange. I mean, I think I just see things sometimes and it just gets stuck in my head and then it's bouncing around in there and I become obsessed with it and then now there's a collection of art based off colors because I thought mold was a fun color scheme.
Well, you're paying attention to things in your environment, and so that brings me to maybe something in this piece. Obviously, the orange is not necessarily something you find very often in nature, but the title of this one is Simultaneous Wave and Particle.
Hmm.
So talk a little bit about that title and the thoughts behind this piece. By the way, I love it when the moon phases are vertical and it looks like it's sort of spiraling. That's very fun. Um,
Yes. So this piece, well, okay, so light is actually a wave and particle at the same time. So to me, this piece perfectly represents light because as you can see, there's like triangles coming out of the person's eye, and then it like cascades down their face, sort of like the shadow. I felt like this was like a good representation of what light looks like hitting someone's like body. Um, and so I really thought that it was kind of poetic, simultaneously wave and particle. I just thought that that sounded nice. Um,
yeah.
so I really love this face. This might be my favorite complete face of. I really love the other orange one, but I think this might be my favorite face of the collection.
Mm.
It's very
Yeah,
like
it's got a
moody.
lot more detail, and the purple in it is great. Now, this one is titled Renewable Energy, and it feels very self-explanatory, but it's so
Yeah.
symmetrical. There's a lot of beauty in this one. I feel like I just want to dwell on this for a minute
Yeah, I really love this
because
one.
it's so, yeah, I don't know. It's so centered and peaceful, both literally and figuratively.
It
And
was
I know,
definitely more of an idea, like mentally, than the other ones where like it was very intuitive the rest of the time. But this piece, I kind of mentally was like, I just had this idea, or like I had this vision of these two people touching hands, and then like transmitting some kind of energy between their mouths and eyes. Um, I had this idea in my head, so that doesn't always happen, as we talked about before.
Right, right. Now, talk a little bit about these sacred geometry elements that appear in your work, because I know that obviously we have moon phases appearing in a lot of these pieces,
Yeah.
but these specific forms are often present in your other works that I've seen prior to this.
Yeah. Well, that one's Metatron's cube. That's probably my favorite geometric or sacred geometry symbol. I just think that it's really beautiful and balanced. Um, and I guess that's the idea with this piece is that it's all kind of balancing itself out. It's renewable.
Mm.
And so it's like a perpetual cycle, and that's sort of how the Metatron's cube feels to me. But sacred geometry, I just think it's really beautiful, and it's very like meditative to draw.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I've really enjoyed, that's kind of a more recent thing for me, but I've really enjoyed exploring that more, like we talked about earlier too, kind of sharpening things and making things more geometric. That's sort of like the evolution of my process in a way.
So
So,
you've been feeling yourself moving away from more organic forms into more geometric ones lately.
yes, yeah, exactly.
Very
So
interesting.
I think that's why I've gravitated so heavily towards the like sacred geometry pieces is that they're so balanced, they're so pleasing to the eye and so sort of perfect. And that's not really an element that I've super explored until probably the last like year. So,
Well, let's talk about a couple of the other pieces that I don't think we've hit yet, because I know that do. So here we have absorbed by the atmosphere.
mm-hmm,
And then it sort of has this partner over here in carbon cycles and the existence of life. And
mm-hmm.
if anybody in the audience wants to take one of these homes, the link is in the bio, and all proceeds will go to Elena. And you guys can make sure that you follow her at Elena Corradino Art. And yeah, do you have anything that you want to say about carbon cycles and the existence of life?
Um, I mean, I feel like it's just these are more broad terms
Mm-hmm.
as far as the energy cycles concept goes as a whole. Um, they're not really overly specific, more really just have to do with the whole idea of like what an energy cycle is and the fact that we're all involved in them.
Mm.
Um, so I love the colors in those two pieces though. I feel like they go really well together. Like I would like them as a set, you know.
Yes, yes. That's exactly why I said them together, because they balance each other. If I can very quickly jump over to this one, and then
Yeah.
you can definitely see them next to each other. They definitely work together. Um,
Yeah.
Now, I want to ask, is there anybody in particular that you want to give shout outs to for tonight? Or would you yourself like to invite people to come down to the gallery?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, if anyone watching right now or seeing this is local, come down tomorrow. I mean, I'm really excited to hang out, have some sushi, talk about art. I mean, that's always a good time. As
Yes.
far as shout outs goes, shout out to you and this
Oh,
gallery
no, no.
because I'm excited. I think it's going to be fun. It's been a while since I've been able to have a gallery show with the pandemic and everything. So, um, I mean, that's
I
pretty
mean,
much it.
but you're also out there selling around town too. I know that you've been selling at local markets, and you also teach as well, right?
Yes, I do teach. I have one more class that's open before the end of this year, and then I'm not taking any more classes until next year. Um, and those are with Engage Kingsport. I can bring some information
Yeah, sure.
to the gallery tomorrow. It's all done through Engage Kingsport,
Okay.
so if you're local watching this, you can look that up. and see like what classes they have available on there. It's my paint pour classes, the last one that I have this year, but I'll be doing resin classes again soon. So I do intro to resin, and then I do the intro to acrylic pour. So acrylic pour is you need no experience at all. It's just a fun day painting. Resin is a little bit more intensive, but you'll learn how to safely use resin in my class. So those have been filling up. I feel like resin is becoming more popular.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I think it's interesting that you were drawn to a medium that has safety challenges around it. Um, do you want to talk a little bit about what drew it to you in spite of those safety challenges? Because it's a
I
lot.
actually like that. I like working with, in a weird way, I guess I like working with chemicals and like experimenting. And I mean, obviously, you can tell that there's a scientific element to what I'm doing with this
Yes.
collection being named the way that it is. Um,
Yes, yes.
So, yeah, there's something that appeals to me about it. I like figuring out all the safety things and researching the materials and figuring out what they do and what their limits are and how to use them the right way. I think that's fun. So,
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that keeps me doing it is that it's exciting and new and it feels very experimental, and those are things that really inspire me. So
Yeah,
that's why I like,
they certainly keep you engaged with the work for a long time because you can endlessly experiment. Um,
yeah.
are there any pieces in particular that we haven't hit on that you especially want to talk about?
I feel like
I'm gonna
we've gone
take a little
through,
tour around.
I'm trying to mentally think.
If anybody watching is local, please come and join us tomorrow night. Just message me and I will message you back the address for the gallery. We're having sushi, and Elena will be here in person to answer any questions. And I have to say, this work you do really need to see this in person because the layers in it are very attractive and engaging. And of course, now that the sun is setting earlier, I don't have really nice natural light in the gallery when I'm doing these talks, but it's something. It's really something. Does anybody have any final questions for for Elena? And you can speak now or forever hold your peace. Elena, do you have any other favorite local eateries that you would like to see me feature in the future, or other artists that you want to see in the gallery?
Um, Local eateries. I mean, that's a tough question
Yes,
because
I know it's a tough one.
I have the limit with the celiac thing, so it's a little bit difficult for me to kind of eat out, but I think it's always good to just feature local people. I mean, we have so many artistic souls around here and so many really good local businesses. I mean, you can't go wrong,
Yeah,
no
that's
matter who
true.
you choose or go with. So,
That's true.
um, yeah.
Well, this has been a wonderful evening. Is there anything else that you want to say to the folks who are watching right now before we? Oh, these pieces seem so musical. Have you ever been tempted to write music? Asks
Well,
Light and Magic.
it's funny you say that because I actually wanted to be a singer. I took choir for like my whole life, and I was in ballet for like 10 years. Before I ever like got really into drawing. I mean, like I said, I was always an artist, but it was kind of that was a side thing for me until I was in high school, and then I had a really great art teacher who kind of um, allowed me to see my talents as an artist, and that's what kind of took me that direction. But I still play the piano. I have an actual stand-up piano. It's not here because it can't fit in this house. It's too small. And I have a keyboard. I mean, I still dabble with music. But yeah, that's kind of my side thing now. So, but funny you should mention that. It's
Yeah,
definitely a big part of my artistic story.
someone's picking up on something. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. Well, we have a piano here in the gallery if you want to play tomorrow. No joke.
Okay.
A lot of people come and they're like, you have a piano, plink, plink, plink. Anyway, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow night. And again, anyone else who wants to come by, just message me and I'll shoot you the details. And I'm really looking forward to eating that sushi because I ordered myself a big thing. And there's a plate specially just for you too, Elena. So
Yay! I'm so excited. It's going to be so fun.
thank you for letting me host your work. Everybody check out the work in the bio. It's all available for sale. Everything goes to Elena. And yeah, we will catch you next time and hopefully tomorrow night, everybody. All right. You take care, Elena, and I'll see you tomorrow night, right?
Yes.
Bye for now.
Bye.